So if you've seen any of the other videos in this series, you know everyone says it gets better. That's true. Once you get out into the real world, you can find your real peers instead of those idiots that you happen to live nearby who happen to be your age. But telling a suicidally depressed teenager that they just need to wait it out is to miss the point entirely about what serious depression is like. And I'm not really one for platitudes. I'd rather offer some advice that's both blunter and perhaps a little more empathetic. This is from my own fairly difficult experience. I'd rather not go into the details publicly, but suffice it to say that I can completely understand what it's like to be in enough pain that you seriously consider suicide as a viable option. I should say that I happen to strongly believe people should have the right to suicide. Deciding whether to live or not is one of the most fundamental rights that somebody can have. But it's a very serious and irreversible decision. Not one that anyone should be making impulsively. And certainly not before more beneficial long-term possibilities are exhausted. In light of that, I'd like to suggest that if you are suicidal, you do the following 5 things. First off, do all that stuff the other people are recommending. See a psychiatrist, talk to a counselor, talk to the suicide hotlines, try all the great new antidepressant medications that they have these days. Exhaust all of your medical options and your community support options. For most people, this works. Unfortunately, it didn't work for me. So that's why I'm not going to just stop at that advice. Secondly, get the fuck out of whatever situation you're in that's stressing you out, that's lame, that's making you think that, this is the best option for you. Your high school, you can leave it. You can go to a community college GED program. You can go to a different high school. You can go to a bigger city. You can leave your parents. You can even leave your parents for living out of your car if you've got to, if it's that bad for you mentally. You can go live with some friends. You can go to one of the big cities like San Francisco or Chicago or Seattle or New York or any of these places which are big and have a large community of people who are dedicated to helping people like you, where there are shelters, there are counseling services, there are job training services, there are people who would be delighted to help you get into a better situation. So never underestimate how important it is to take control of your situation. And don't fall into the trap of thinking that your situation is inescapable. It's not. So leave for something better. Third, if you're going to use dissociative techniques to deal with your pain, so whatever you call that, putting it off, not dealing with it, burying it, wearing a mask, whatever, give yourself a hard deadline to stop. Try to find some kind of safe space, a therapist, hotline, friend, whatever, where you can just let go of all that shit. But if you don't manage to find one, you're going to have to do it yourself. Yes, it's going to hurt a lot, but going through it is the only way of getting better. And if you're suicidal, hopefully you're not afraid of a little bit of short-term pain. Every day that you put it off, it'll get just a little bit harder to keep it up. And that little bit harder accumulates and accumulates until it'll be overwhelming and you won't really have a choice anymore. So set a deadline. A month, maybe 6, no more than a year. If you don't manage to get help by then, find the safest space you can and deal with it yourself. Fourth, make sure you're certain for at least a week, maybe more if you can stand it. But if even once during that time you waver, you have doubts, you think maybe this other thing will help, maybe it'll pass, don't. And try to get whatever it is that you think might help. Try seriously. Don't try the one time and, okay, someone was rude to you and so you went away. No. Try for real. Come on. Even a tattoo deserves at least that much certainty. And this is a lot less reversible than a tattoo. And finally, be ethical. If you're going to kill yourself, promise yourself that before you do so, you're going to write up a will, explain what you want done with your body, donate your organs so that someone else can have a better life, write letters to your friends and family explaining the situation. There's no point just adding to the pain in the world. There's enough already. And yes, it's going to be really hard to do. That's kind of the point. You have to accept the consequences of your decisions, and you have to make sure that you don't unnecessarily hurt other people. If you've done all that, and you still are sure that you want to kill yourself, well, go ahead, I guess. I wish you well, and I empathize. If you haven't, however, get to work. Learning how to live is really hard. Some people never do, and if you're going to seriously consider ending your life, you should first do everything you can to live. For what it's worth, though, if you do get through it, not just putting it off, but actually dealing with your shit and improving your situation, life gets dramatically better. For a long time, I thought the best that I could hope to feel on a good day was neutral. Is it perfect now? No, of course not, but it's a lot better. These days, I'm genuinely happy most of the time, and sure, occasionally I get stressed or exhausted or moderately depressed. I've had an amazing, gorgeous genius of a boyfriend for about 3 years now, and he's wonderful, but on the other hand, he's also now far away because we got academic positions in different places. I'll probably get my PhD pretty soon, though it'll take several years longer than I was thinking it would. I've gotten really good at a job that I enjoy, and I get paid pretty well for it too, but I'm putting it off to do the research. So, sure, life's a trade-off. I mean, similarly, I've met tons of wonderful people, in the years since graduating high school at least. But that's more to say that I've met many, many people, and I've had some ability to recognize the tiny percentage of them who are wonderful for me. Once you get out into the real world, once you get interacting with enough people in a big enough place where you have that option, you'll see there are so many options, and your ability to find what you want expands dramatically, simply because you have such a larger amount of things to choose from that you can still filter it and find people who are like you. So yeah, it does get better, honestly. In the meantime, though, if the promise of a better future someday isn't enough for you, take my advice and make it better for yourself right now. It's not easy, but it is worth it. Good luck.